All right. Hey, sorry about missing this week, or last week that is. I don't know why. I just kind of forgot to record. That's honestly the first time that that's ever happened. Like there have been some times where it's been like I've been on vacation or I took a week off whenever my grandpa died last year, but like this week I just straight up forgot. So that's my bad, y'all. I was gonna talk about get back together weekend, which by the way, Cam Ward looked pretty fun in that practice, unlike apparently a couple of other practices that ended up happening. But he's still developing. So anyway, what's good, y'all? Welcome back to the Titans Rundown. I am your host, Micah McCamey, and in today's episode, we are going to be talking about preseason week one. We finally get to watch Titans football this week. Aren't y'all excited? I'm excited, especially after hearing some of the news that Teron Davenport dropped on us, where he said that Cam Ward is going to be playing this week. So that gets me even more juiced than I already was to watch some Titans football. So anyway, let's get right on into this. Five things to watch during preseason. I'm realizing looking at this now, it's more so five questions about this preseason, but I don't know. It's five things specifically to watch out for. But anyway, before we get into the top five, though, we got to talk about the Titans' new signing. We signed a dude named Joshua Bledsoe. Name sounds familiar. I don't think there's any relation between the other Bledsoe, but anyway, his career started out in about 2021. He got drafted by the Patriots in the sixth round. Didn't really do that much there and got released in 2023. And then he actually ended up in the UFL with the, I can't remember what the team was. It was like the Brahmas or something like that, the San Antonio team. And he ended up there for a little bit, but he didn't stay that long because then he got a call from the Pittsburgh Steelers who wanted him to come play for them and be on their practice squad. But after playing four total games in the NFL, he was released by the Steelers, and now he was just kind of floating around on waivers until we decided, okay, let's go pick this guy up. So if I had to take a guess, he's probably just going to be special teams depth. I mean, he's only played four total games, like 10 special team snaps. So if I had to take a guess, he's going to play a little bit of special teams, and he's not really going to do that much else, right? Like, he's going to be there on the practice squad just in case, one of those guys goes down and we need to call on somebody. He will be right there for us. But again, not really seeing that much for him. I wouldn't be shocked if he was off the team by week one. But hey, still, just thinking about this optimistically, he'll probably just be on the practice squad, and he'll be there for the special teams whenever they need something. But anyway, now that we've got that out of the way, I'm sure that most of y'all probably didn't even hear that Joshua Bledsoe signed with us. But anyway, now that we got that out of the way, we can talk about the five things to look out for in preseason. All right, first thing, this one's the most obvious one. How will Cam Ward do in an actual NFL game? Like, obviously, it's preseason, everything's kind of vanilla, not really that much schematic genius going on during this. So we can take this just for a grain of salt whenever we watch him play. Like, if he goes out there and looks like Joe Montana, then we can think, like, okay, maybe we need to simmer our expectations. Or if he looks terrible, we could be like, okay, it's preseason first reps as an NFL quarterback. So he's still developing. But again, I think that first off, Teron Davenport, shout out to him, great insider, confirmed today that man, why can't I remember? Oh yeah, he confirmed today that it is official that Cam Ward will be playing on Saturday. He'll probably go out there for like a drive, maybe two drives, and then he'll immediately get pulled out for Kyle Allen or Tim Boyle. And again, knowing that depth chart, there's no shock whenever one of the insiders of the NFL said, "Oh yeah, the Titans are thinking about getting another quarterback." That would be very nice, honestly. But again, that's beside the point. So yeah, he is playing Saturday. He had some rough moments this last week in practice, specifically Monday was absolutely terrible for him. I think that most people know that by now, but he also had some bad moments a couple of days before that. But he did have two really good days in between that. One, He was 21 for 29, threw a couple of touchdowns. You saw the highlight reel of some of his throws. Like, the Titans could have made one whole post out of some of the throws they made that day. That was how good he was. The day before, he was all right. He was pretty decent. But what we're really looking for here is just a little bit of flash. We're not looking for him to just be some amazing quarterback right off the bat, like throwing dimes all over the place. We just want him to make like a couple of solid throws, show us reason that he could be the next guy for the Tennessee Titans. Anyway, just overall, I just hope that he shows flash, and again, just something to look out for, obviously, because he kind of determines whether Callahan keeps his job or not. So anybody that is like this huge fan of Brian Callahan, this is something that you especially need to look out for, because I know that there is a portion of the fan base that really likes him and thinks that he's a good coach. And I think that he's a solid coach. I think that he just needs a little bit more time than we're willing to give him. Like, I would personally think that he should be given 3 years instead of 2. But again, our owner, not really into that type of stuff. So anyway, the second thing that I want to look out for is the linebackers. Which linebacker will come out on top in the linebacker 2 job? Okay, this is obvious. James Williams is probably going to end up being the starter. I mean, he's been starting all throughout training camp. He's listed as linebacker 2 in the depth chart that was just recently released, the unofficial depth chart at least. But this is still preseason. There are some people that are still in the hunt, like Cedric Gray. That is the one that I think has the best chance of overtaking it, if at all. I don't think that he will, but there still is somewhat of a chance. But Cedric Gray, he was the one that actually came in with the expectations. Like, people were just like, okay, 4th round linebacker drafted by Rand Carthen. This really sounds familiar, doesn't it? you know, and all these people were like being like, okay, he may be the next Fred Warner and all this crap, which obviously was way too high of expectations to put on him. He got injured last season, which honestly kind of held back some of his development and him just starting to get to know the league as it is. But again, he really has not been that great so far. Like, he's had some moments on special teams. He played a little bit during that horrendous Jaguars game, but he just really has not gotten that much shine over the past little bit. So I am overall just kind of hoping that he can live up to some sort of expectation. Be the backup linebacker, that's fine. I don't think he'll take the starting job, but it's just something to watch out for. I just want to see how he's developed since last year, because I think that he could be really good, but that's just up for fate to see. But also, we need to watch out for the current starter, James Williams. Okay, he's showed a lot of good stuff this past offseason. He's apparently gotten a lot better in coverage, according to Denard Wilson. He also, again, still has that blitzing prowess that he had last year. And like, just overall, he's kind of a freak if you really look at the entire thing. So I'm really hoping that he can be the complete freak of nature that we've been expecting him to be this next year. And that would really help out our defense, because obviously our pass rush isn't going to do that much. So yeah, anyway. But the last thing that I want to look out for in the linebacker battle, can Otis Reese hold off on all of the other people that are competing for the linebacker spot to either be linebacker 2 or just to even make the roster? I mean, like, let me double check the Titans. Like, can he hold off guys like Anthony, I'm not going to say his last name, Curtis Jacobs, or other guys like that? Like, can he hold off these guys and end up taking that linebacker 2 spot and ending up being the backup to Cody Barton? I mean, you take a look at this depth chart. For some reason, ESPN has Otis Reese linked as the starting linebacker for the Titans. That's really just blatantly false. Like, we're not even too sure if he's going to make the roster at this point. I do think that he will make the roster, but it is something to look out for, because he'll probably be competing for that spot. maybe Anthony can end up being the veteran that ends up beating out one of the young guys for that spot, especially since Otis Reese, he has some size problems. He's not really that intensely athletic. He's just kind of a hustler, if you will. And it's kind of why James Williams is starting over Cedric Gray, because he has more physical tools. And this coaching staff in general seems like they're banking more on potential than just solidified talent, so it's just something to watch out for. Again, linebackers, it seems set in stone, but don't underestimate what could happen within preseason. Anyway, the third thing that we need to look out for is who will be the last wide receiver on this roster. I mean, obviously, we know that there are 6 locks to this roster for now. Calvin Ridley is a lock. Obviously, okay, the 3 starting wide receivers, Ridley, Lockett, and Van Jefferson. All 3 of those guys are locks for the wide receiver position. But the other 3 are the 2 rookies that we drafted, Dyke and Alec Eomanor. And then my man, Bryce Oliver. Golly, I love that dude. He has been an amazing UDFA. He showed flashes throughout his entire tenure as a Titan, and he has developed a really great skill on special teams. John Fassel has specifically had praise for him, and he is just a pretty solid wide receiver overall whenever he gets to play on the field. This is a guy that I think could end up being the wide receiver 4 on this team. I don't think that's out of the conversation, honestly, even with the draft capital that's been used on Dyke and Eomanor. That's something that I genuinely believe. But again, really happy to see that guy lock up his spot. But we still got to talk about a couple of other people. Who is going to be the wide receiver 7 on this roster? I don't think that they're going to let 8 wide receivers on this roster. So we're going to need 7. Who's it going to be? It's between 3. It's James Prochet, who has had an amazing training camp and apparently has been really solid whenever it comes to punt returns. And he's been one of the first names brought up with punt and kick return. There's also Xavier Restrepo. He had that connection with Cam Ward. Maybe a little slow, but he's still a pretty decent receiver. He's really good at finding holes in the defense, and he's so-so on special teams. Or Jaquan Jackson, a dude that got a lot of crap from the fan base last year, but apparently has came back, fixed his hands problems, and has had a pretty good training camp to the point where, on the unofficial depth chart, he's listed as kick returner 1. I don't agree with that, but again, I'm not John Fassel, so that is something to take into consideration. Again, I think that I honestly think that it will be James Prochet that comes out on this. I think that Xavier Restrepo and Jaquan Jackson end up getting cut because I think that Prochet, while being the better special teams player with kick returning and punt returning, I think he's just the better overall receiver than both of these guys. I don't think Xavier Restrepo is all that good. I don't think Jaquan Jackson is all that good. And I don't think Xavier Restrepo just has the speed right now. Maybe give him a little bit of time on the practice squad. Maybe he finds himself on the roster after a little bit, but I just do not think that he ends up making this roster, unfortunately, which is something that's really sad because, we were thinking whenever he was signed as a UDFA, we were just oh, he may be a roster lock, we were thinking all that stuff. But anyway, I think Prochet takes it, but it wouldn't shock me if Restrepo ended up having some great moments in preseason and earned that roster spot back. Who knows? I want to throw in another bonus one. I didn't have it on this list. Honorable mention, if you will. The tight end position is also something to look out for, okay? Because there are currently, I think, 4 tight ends that are really on the roster right now. It's Chig, he's a lock. It's Gunnar Helm, Josh Wiley, and who's the last one? Oh, no, wait, there are 2 more. David Martin Robinson, Thomas Odukoye. That is an interesting battle to watch. Who will end up sneaking onto the roster as tight end 3 or 4, depending on how many we keep? Who is going to end up being tight end 1 even? I think that Gunnar Helm still has a chance to take that tight end 1 spot depending on what he does in preseason. And again, does David Martin Robinson end up making the roster? I think that he should. I think that he's got just an amazing build, and I think that he's a really good receiving threat, and I think that he should be on this roster. But will Josh Wiley's experience overtake that? And just the fact that he's 6'7", like that's ridiculous. And, and Thomas Odukoye, I don't know. I think the only reason that he was on the roster was because of that tackle they had on special teams last year. I'm pretty confident that he's gone. So it really boils down to Josh Wiley and David Martin Robinson. Who do y'all think will win that battle? I want to know in the comments section. I think that David Martin Robinson will barely pull it out, which leaves Josh Wiley getting cut. He'll probably get picked up by somebody else. But also, like, tight end one, that's still an intense battle. Like, I think it'll be more so of a flip-flop between Chig and Gunnar Helm. Like, they'll both get a decent amount of tight end reps with the first team. But I still think that Gunnar Helm could end up just being a beast. Like, I remember even Taylor Lewan, whenever he saw us draft him alongside the other guys on Bussin' with the Boys, he straight up said, hey, this guy could be the next Delaney Walker. And I was just thinking, okay, that may be a bit of high expectations, but he is really stinking solid. So I don't know, man. I think he's going to be really good if he's given the chance, but that's just up for the coaching staff to decide. Okay, getting back on track. Number 4, how will the rest of the picks look? I already mentioned Gunnar Helm and Cam Ward, but like, how about Femi? Like, he is something interesting to look out for because of the fact that we don't know how polished he is. He could go out there and he could look like that ridiculous athletic freak that we've been waiting for, or he could end up being like a guy's just like, okay, he does need a lot of time to develop. Like, how has he picked up so far? I want to know that. For some reason, he's been dropping back into coverage a lot more than I would be comfortable with, but still, I just want to see him get a couple of pass rushing reps in. I want to see him be explosive during preseason just because, like, in preseason, I feel like raw athleticism will win you a lot of battles, especially going up against those, like, second and third teams. Like, I think that that's what wins you those battles. So if he's not winning those battles, then that's something to be concerned about. But again, he is a rookie, so got to give him time. I do think that he will end up being pretty solid, but just overall, I'm not too sure about him. The next thing is, could Kevin Winston be the next Jarvis Brownlee Jr.? I'm not saying that he'll be as good, but like, could he end up being like that young rookie that does really good things in preseason, has been really loved in practice by most of the coaching staff, but they feel like that they need to give the spot to the veteran Xavier Woods in this situation because of the fact that he's just been so much he's been so much more experienced. And again, he's obviously going to bring that veteran presence onto the roster. So they start him. He either looks really bad or gets seriously hurt halfway through the year, which then leads to him starting. And he ends up holding his own and actually being really stinking good throughout throughout that second half of the season and locks up a starting spot as safety one for the Tennessee Titans. Could we be seeing another situation like that unravel? I think that we could be, on a genuine note. Like, I don't think Xavier Woods will end up looking that washed, but I will not be shocked if he ends up getting hurt in some sort of way. So, again, I think that Kevin Winston will have that starting spot by the end of the year, and I think he's going to be pretty dang good as well. The last thing is Alec Eomanor as great as he's been advertised? Like, a lot of people have been talking about, like, oh yeah, Alex looked amazing. He's making all these catches. He caught a touchdown from Tim Boyle in practice recently. He had this really nice one-handed catch during routes. Like, I gotta know, is all of this like a big deal? Like, is he seriously looking like he could end up being a great wide receiver already? Or is this just like training camp hype, training camp crushes like guys like Thomas Odukoye of the past or Mason Kinsey? Like, who are, like, again, is he really that good, or is he just kind of going to be the wide receiver 4 or 5 of this team? That is the question that we need to be asking. But again, I think that this rookie class will end up looking pretty solid overall in preseason, but that's just my personal opinion. Anyway, number 5, the last question that I have about this team. How will the pass rush look in training camp? Or, sorry, in preseason, okay? I'm excited to watch Draymond Jones. I want to start out with that. Like, I think Draymond Jones is going to be really, really good. or not really, really good, but a lot better than people are expecting, I could end up seeing him having like one of his bigger seasons and getting a contract extension from us. Like I 100% do think that he could end up doing some things. Like I have just this deep rooted belief after watching him on at Back Together weekend. Like he's got some stuff, dude. Like he has got some stuff. So now the real question is, can he capitalize on the momentum that he built during training camp, take it into preseason, end up looking really good, solidifying his starting spot, and potentially having his biggest season yet? Again, obviously, I think that he can. You just heard me rave about him. But that's not up for me to decide. That's up for the coaching staff to decide if he is good enough to be as great as even I think he can be, or as great as some of the fan base thinks he can be. That is a big question for me. But the next thing is, will Arden Key? I think that Arden Key is going to get a lot more playing time than people are expecting, because I believe that Arden Key is in danger right now. Okay. Can Arden Key do enough in the Titans preseason to hold off the Titans being like, you know what, let's just go sign Preston Smith? Because that is a big rumor right now that they're trying to get Preston Smith to come play for them. And he would probably end up splitting snaps with Arden Key if I had to take a guess. The real question is, will Arden Key do enough to hold off the Titans from pulling the trigger on that? Or will he just not rise to the occasion, end up being that same like really high motor dude, but just isn't really good enough, and he ends up getting replaced by, well, Preston Smith? That is a serious thing that I think that will be on his mind. And I do think that he will have a high enough motor, and I think that he will do good enough to hold him off. But I think that management will see through it and think, oh, we got to sign Preston Smith, right? Just because of depth alone. But again, I still think that there is a really good chance that he doesn't get signed, but I do think that he will most likely end up being a Titan by the end of this offseason. Man. But anyway, the other thing is that the other depth really needs to show up. Like, we need somebody that ends up rising to the occasion in preseason, doing something big, and just overall making this D line a little bit better and making us more confident in the D line, correct? Like, look, will it be the veteran Ollie Gay coming in and making some really big plays? Will it be Titus Leo, a dude that's been around the Titans for a couple of years? You probably don't know that much about him, but he's a name that you may know. Or will it be, I wonder if y'all forgot about this name, Jalen Harold, the kid out of Michigan that showed some flashes last year, especially in training camp? Will he be able to put it together and make a big game and improve and just overall look like he could be a rotational piece in the NFL? That is what we need to know. But anyway, that will be something exciting to watch. So that's all for me. Again, I have Instagram and Twitter under the Titans Rundown if you want to go look at those. I also have YouTube for the podcast listeners. I promise I'm trying to find something to make YouTube unique from this. So yeah, that's really it. So anyway, that's going to do it all for me. This has been a rundown of your Tennessee Titans. I love y'all, and tighten up.